Thrill of the Fight is a great game, but it's been 7.5 years. So let's count down the best VR boxing games that you can either play right now or are coming out later this year. And I'll also include a few titles that aren't exactly boxing but are close enough. In 10th place we have Ultra Boxing. Now please note this is just in playtesting right now, so I couldn't really place it any higher, but I highly recommend keeping your eye on this one. It is a super realistic boxing simulator that looks to take Thrill of the Fight head on. It supports mixed reality, and right now it is in the pretty early stages, so when I tested it, there was just one fighter, and he's gonna give me nightmares the way he smiles back at you as he beats your head to the pulp. Now honestly, it is incredibly hard and probably too hard for me. I felt my form go out the window, so I'm looking forward to when there's a bit more customization available so I can slow the pace down to suit my level. I also tested how many calories I burnt in 20 minutes, and I was surprised by the result, a whopping 216 calories. Now one that I wasn't able to get my hands on but looks amazing is VRSO Bare Knuckle Fighting. Here you basically get to live out Fight Club and looks incredibly raw and violent. With crossplay multiplayer and a 2024 release date, this has firmly secured a spot on my wishlist. Now good news, the rest of the games are all games that you can actually pick up right now. In 8th place we have PUNCHFIT, and this is a completely free-to-play boxing pad simulator. Here you can choose from a variety of different drills where you're given different combinations of punches and dodges. Tracks range from just a few minutes to 30 minutes, and they also let you know how difficult it is, so it's going to suit VR boxers and VR fitness enthusiasts of all levels. Up next we have a bit of a wild card. So if you want to multiply the power of your punches by 1,000, then Underdogs the mech brawler could be right up your alley. This game will have you swinging huge haymakers and flying around the arena with its gorilla-based movements. Now in terms of just raw fun and breaking your time perception, then this is probably the best game on the list, and if you're looking for more of a game first, especially with dark and gritty undertones, and then a workout second, then this is a must pick up. LESMILLS BODYCOMBAT, and this is probably the best received dedicated VR fitness game of all time. There's no monthly subscription, just a one-time purchase, and you get access to a bunch of tracks on different difficulty levels and 2 Kiwi coaches cheering you on. Now I personally think they're pretty funny and help with motivation and get you through even the most difficult of workouts. They're also pretty innovative and were the first VR fitness game to introduce knee strikes, and in their most recent update they brought in elbow strikes too. Now in my own playtest, I burnt 245 calories in just over 20 minutes, making it 11.74 calories per minute, and this is only slightly less than Thrill of the Fight, and I think if you're serious about getting into VR fitness, then this should be an absolute staple in your VR fitness routine. Into the top 5, and in 5th place we have Dragonfist VR Kung Fu. Earlier this month, it received a full graphical overhaul and the introduction of multiplayer. There is an insane amount of content to get through here. There's something like 30 characters, each with their own special move, and it's just a great time. And I couldn't help but smile from ear to ear playing this one. In my own playthrough, I started on normal difficulty and even won one fight in Master. And dude, Master is absolutely insane. Now you can make this a lot more like a boxing simulator by closing your fists and sort of brawling, but I think it's way more fun just to get wild and weird with it and do some double palm strikes or get the fingers out and go for some eye gouging. It does have quite a lot of movement, so if you get VR sickness you might want to take it easy with this one, and in my playtest I burnt 226 calories in just 20 minutes. And considering that was on normal difficulty, I think at harder difficulty levels this could even beat LESMILLS BODYCOMBAT, which is kind of crazy. I actually couldn't believe how fun this was to play, and definitely worth picking up, especially if you're a fan of games like Tekken and Mortal Kombat, or of course VR PvP. Okay, now we're getting into the true boxing simulators. In 4th place we have a new game called Mutant Boxing League. Now despite it being more of a cartoon and way more of a video game look and feel to it, make no mistake, at its core it is still very much a polished VR boxing simulator. Now I was surprised by its tutorial. It's one of the better VR boxing tutorials I've tried, and because I am very much a beginner boxer and adult learner myself, I actually really appreciated the rookie mode, where time sort of slows down where you're dodging punches and even places indicators as to where you should hit your opponent back. But where this game really shines is with its special gloves. Basically, it still remains a boxing simulator, but as you land or dodge attacks, you build up your power bar on the left-hand side. Once this is full, you can pull the trigger and activate your power gloves. So this either makes your next attack incredibly powerful, which feels great when landing a right hook, or you can use it to slow down time to get out of trouble or step back in and go super offensive with a flurry of punches. In my own playtest, I burnt 176 calories in 20 minutes. I think it's a little bit less than other games just because the rounds are shorter, so you are in the menu quite a bit. But I think this game would have been absolutely perfect for multiplayer. So it's a shame they don't support that just yet, but they do have online leaderboards and challenges that keep you coming back for more. In third place, we have Creed, and this is an absolute classic, and I gotta admit, I'm a huge fan of the movies, characters, and music, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing through the campaign. Now, they did go with a bit more of a video game approach rather than directly competing with Thrill of the Fight as a boxing simulator. When you get knocked out, there's kind of a mini game to get back awake, and in Creed you have to run back to your body. But again, it's still a great workout, especially when using the endurance mode workouts. All in all, this game feels pretty solid when you compare it to Thrill of the Fight directly, but I personally just feel like Thrill of the Fight is a better boxing simulator. It's more of a workout and almost a third of the price, so I always end up recommending Thrill of the Fight. But where Creed probably shines the most is that it does have multiplayer. So if you're looking for the most realistic boxing simulator that also supports multiplayer, then it's probably going to be Creed. Now, before we get into the top two, I want to mention two games that are pretty solid but didn't quite make the cut. The first is All-in-One Sports. This one's kind of special to me because I actually ended up representing Singapore in a VR boxing tournament with this one, but it doesn't go quite as in depth with its gameplay like the others do. It's more of Wii Sports but for VR. And then there's Knockout League, which is actually really good, but I didn't include it because it's more of a reaction boxing game. The core gameplay loop is you kind of wait for your opponent to punch and then you need to block or dodge in time. It's very much like Punch-Out but in VR. This one probably does deserve a spot, but I could only pick 10 and I really wanted to highlight some of the new titles. And the runner-up is Golden Gloves. Now, this game launched in very early access last year, perhaps a bit too early because it picked up a few negative reviews. As of Feb 2024, this game is in a very good spot right now, and they have an even more exciting roadmap, including multiplayer. I think this game is the closest to Thrill of the Fight right now, but it has even more mini games and boxing drills available. Kind of has this weird feeling that you're actually in a boxing gym. But I couldn't quite give it the number one spot because there's still a few things. So for example, I had this issue where the menu was floating behind me and I had to kind of spin around to try and catch it. It's also a lot more expensive than Thrill of the Fight. But most importantly, the combat itself still feels solid, and I think the graphics are actually better. Mixed reality is supported as well. In my own playtest here, I burnt 186 calories in 20 minutes, making it an all-round solid workout. Now during this test, I was also exploring the gym, but once I got into a round of boxing, you can see my heart rate went up to above 150, which is where it should be for these more intense VR boxing games. And in first place, it's still Thrill of the Fight. Man, it's still receiving updates, and the developer enquiries still replies to most questions and feedback in the subreddit. But $10 compared to most of the others being $25, it kinda just has it all. Last year it received AR support, which was a welcome change, but why this game is so good is the level of customization available. So for example, you can turn the aggression all the way up with the glove speed down, which is great to use for a warm-up and practice your slips. There's no multiplayer available with this one, there's just you and 10 other fighters, and to this date, I've still not found a better VR workout just for kicking your butt. That being said, the competition is getting a lot closer. So for the longest time, if you wanted the best boxing simulator, you picked Thrill of the Fight, and if you want to beat up some kids online, you take Creed. But now we have a few more very serious boxing simulators that are refining their craft and really bridging that gap. I think Golden Gloves and Ultra Boxing have a very good chance of overtaking Thrill of the Fight later this year as they continue to develop the game and make improvements. And then for fun new games like Mutant Boxing League, Dragonfist, and Underdogs, well, these are fantastic tools to get a VR boxing workout in without actually feeling like a workout. And what about Thrill of the Fight 2? Well, if you're familiar with the subreddit, then you probably know that this is something poor old Ian gets asked almost every day. The general rule of thumb is that it's still in development in conjunction with Half Brick Studio, and once we start to see some gameplay or marketing activities from them, then it's probably about 3 to 6 months away. So it's probably towards the second half of this year, or maybe even 2025. Now, if you want a bit more information about Thrill of the Fight 1 and why it's such a good game, then I've got that review right here.